something to drink, and she was all like trying to get my attention again, like, hey, you done yet? I'm like, no, I ain't done yet, I still got stuff to do. So hey. Hey everybody. All right, so I'm back. All right, so let's turn this into, we were gonna like have our connection with Shannon, but that didn't happen. So yeah, so that didn't happen. So I'm open to spiritual questions, y'all. I don't really feel like reading right now, so we won't even do study group because I just don't feel like it. But let's do questions, spiritual questions, y'all. So you can ask me spiritual based questions. If you want to come on and ask me some spiritual questions, no personal readings, y'all. So no personal readings or personal questions of that nature. It's more spiritual. Or if there's something that you're trying to work on right now in your life, as far as spirituality or energy or manifestation, I'm open for y'all to ask your question in the comment section below, or you can actually come on as a face to face with me as well, because I'm open to that as well. But put your question in the section below. Again, no personal readings. It all has to do with the topic, which is spirituality. It can be about positivity, energy, psychic development, prophesizing the future. It's whatever it is that has to do with that topic here. So I'm gonna see if you guys are gonna ask the questions, because I'm looking around here for these questions. Y'all can hear me, right? Y'all can hear me? Because I can, and again, guys, remember, no personal questions. This is like spiritual time. So questions only pertaining to spirituality. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to drag somebody on here. Hey! I was like, I'm going to drag you on here. Last time I tried to drag you on here, you like declined and rejected me. I was like, oh, hell no. So I'm like, I'm going to drag her ass on here again.
No. You even said later on that day that your internet was acting funny. I was like, it wasn't me.
Yeah. Now change the conversation.
Yeah.
So ask me something. Ask me about something.
Oh gosh, way to put me on the spot.
Spirituality, spiritual growth. Well, what are you working on? What do you want to work on?
You know what I've been struggling with and what I've been reading a lot about is meditation. And I'm really struggling on how to get to that quiet space that everybody talks about, like when you feel like you're transcending. I'm struggling with that. My mind is always so busy. So
why? So what do you think is going to come from that? Because when you talk about it, as if you don't know what that is or what that has ever been. So in your head, it's this idea of this state of experience. So what do you think is going to come from that if you were to achieve that state of like being in that transcendent state?
I was thinking that maybe it might bring me to like a better place of positivity and just like a higher level of consciousness. Like I've been working on trying to be positive and accepting things as they are. I do have something that comes up that's negative, or that I'm like a very emotional person. So whenever something like that happens, I acknowledge the fact that it's upsetting, because most people just try and tamp it down, right?
Right.
And I'm guilty of that. And so lately what I've been working on is, okay, I acknowledge it. It's upsetting, but let's, take a moment and let's move on.
Yeah.
But sometimes things take longer to move on from, we're human. So I was thinking maybe meditation will get me to a place where things don't bother me as much, or I can get into a happier peace of mind easier.
So why would you think you're here in this form to not be bothered?
Well, it's not that.
So being spiritual beings in the heavenly plane, we decided to give up heaven to be human, because human is drama, human is suffering, human is all of the crap that we have to deal with on top of the beautiful things that we can experience here. Right. So we gave up heaven to come here to be human. So why do you not want to be bothered? Why do you think you are not supposed to be bothered?
Well, it's not so much that I don't think we're supposed to be bothered, because if you don't ever go through these things, how are you going to grow? Like we're here to experience things and to create experiences.
Yeah.
I just feel like we're not supposed to get stuck in that. And I feel like I do get stuck in that. I tend to be very emotional and I'm very sensitive.
Yeah.
And sometimes things that most people be like, okay, I'm done, I'm over it. I'm not. And so
Yeah.
that's why I try to work on being more positive and trying to work on meditation.
So here's the thing though, because it sounds like you've done a lot of work to get really good at not letting things bother you as much as maybe in the past they would have.
Yes.
Maybe in the past things would have stuck around, you would have overanalyzed the hell out of everything, and you would have been upset and like, what's wrong with her? She's always mad all the time. So in the past you might have done. It sounds like you did a lot of work to kind of get better at letting things go. But to this day, there are things that you just can't let go as easily, or there are things that are still affecting you, even though you're using your coping mechanisms and your ability to like resolve that within yourself. There's a reason for that. Not all problems get handled the same way. In other words, if my house is on fire and the tree and I walk up to my house, it's on fire, and I handle it the way that I've dealt with fire in the past. Maybe in the past I saw a little tree on fire and I just threw some water on it. And in the house is on fire and I throw a little water on it. That's not going to change the
Right.
situation. The house is on fire. It's a
Right.
big house. It's a big thing. And
Yeah.
so sometimes the things that you're trying to push away or the things that you're trying not to make a big deal, maybe they're supposed to be a big deal. Maybe they're supposed to affect you the way they are. Maybe they're supposed to cause something to shift and change within yourself because it means something, it matters, and there's something that's supposed to come from that. And there's
Right.
an evolutionary process that comes from that opportunity. Because when we think of like painful experiences, you can think of painful experiences as just crappy things to deal with, but every single thing we go through in this world, all things, even the most painful, suffering things we go through, are opportunities of understanding and of growth and of awareness. And
Right.
we come here for that specific thing. So what you're stuck with, these loops that you're getting stuck in, that you're trying to dismiss or like push away, may actually be the universe trying to bring it back into your head so that you can deal with it in a different way, or you can use it in a different way than you have in the past. In other
Uh,
words, when I'm talking to a spirit and they give me a date and I ask the client and the client's like, no, I don't know. And then they repeat it. I'm not going to push it away because I want to make the client happy. I'm like, no, they're telling it to me for something. I'm either misunderstanding it or you're just not remembering. And so I repeat and repeat and repeat, trying to figure it out and make sense of it. And that's sometimes what we have to do in certain instances when we are feeling very sensitive to certain things and we need to acknowledge what it means for us. And so here's an example from my life to help you understand maybe what you're going through. So this past year and a half has been a really interesting period for humanity as a
yeah.
whole and also for us individually, because each of us had experiences that definitely profoundly changed us and affected each of us. And then on a whole, we also had an experience as a collective.
Right.
One of the reoccurring experiences that I had was having my heart broken by people that I gave more credit to. In other words, I always try to see the light in people, to see the goodness in people, and in a way, before 2020, I was very naive about people in that I always assumed that people would make the right decision at the end of the day. Now, granted, in the moment of a chaotic event or a catastrophe, people don't think, they just act. And that part of them does go into effect when that occurs. But when people have enough time to think or to choose, and then their own ego, their own stuff gets in the way, and then they make worse choices sometimes. And that
Right.
happens a lot. And so I had my heart broken many a times by people that I gave too much credit to. And so because of this, people who I was there for, people who I helped, or people who I gave of myself to without asking for anything really in return, I was disappointed and I was heartbroken by that. And in the past, I would have continued to do the same thing over and over again. I would have still given those people opportunities. I would have still given those people chances. I would have
Right.
still kept trying to help these people, even though they've already showed themselves to who they are, who they or what they're capable of. Yeah,
Yeah.
just because someone disappoints me or breaks my heart doesn't mean that they're evil or bad or wrong. It just means that this is who they are, this is how they operate. It is not going to align with what I want to achieve ultimately. And
Right.
so I've been going through a very interesting learning process of each of these experiences showing up, me having them, and then me having to realize that it's not really about them hurting me intentionally. It's about this is who they are. And I am trying to give to the person I think they are or who I think they are capable of being. I'm not accepting them for who they are. And so that has been a struggle in the past, a lot more than this past year. And a lot of these experiences have taught me no matter what happens, if I meet someone or I invest in a relationship or a person and they don't rise to the occasion, that's on them and I
Right.
don't need to waste my time. And in the past, I did a lot of time wasting and I continuously tried to help and to help and to help. And so, for example, and just clearly today, you know, I had a friend who has shown themselves to be a certain type of person. And it has been very clear to me that it does not benefit me, my effort, or my work to have an involvement with this person on a personal level. You know,
Right.
social media friend is one thing, you know, connect, you know, chit chatting every now and then is fine, but actually investing in myself to this person in the relationship is not, I shouldn't do it. And that has been made very clear to me. So recently this person reached out to me and asked me for help. And my conscience, my inner self, the bigger Ferny was like, it's a waste of your time. Don't
Right.
do it. Let this person be. Just because they ask you for help doesn't mean that help or that responsibility falls on you. Just let them be because they need to be accountable to their own actions and choices.
Right.
And every single time you try to help this person, they've never appreciated it and they only take advantage of the situation in one way or another, even if it's just your time. And so I heard all of that. I was very aware of this and I still offered assistance,
Oh gosh.
right? And this is one of the final few people in my life that I still to this day try to offer help to. So I offered assistance. And when the time came for them to fulfill their part of the agreement and for them to show up, they didn't show up. No call, no show. And they had a lot of reasons, but they always have a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I made myself available to you. I didn't even charge you. I just wanted to help you as a friend.
Right.
And so you should honor me in return because this is a two-way street. And if you can't see the value in what I have to offer to you, then you can't even see the value in yourself in this instance. And so it was a repeat. Same cycle, same thing over and over again. And so now I'm very affirmed in that this is not my responsibility. Helping you is not my responsibility because you cannot be trusted to help yourself. And
Right.
so that's just the end of, that's the end of that lesson for me. But it's something that has repeated itself. And before today, before this happened, it was still an inner conflict and I wouldn't let it go. And even my partner was like, why do you keep trying to help this person? This person doesn't, you know, they're not going to do anything. So, but this is just how I am. And so it finally like, okay, I get it now. I accept it. It is what
Right.
it is. Done. And so be it. And if me not helping them leads to them self-inflicting pain or harm, it's still not my responsibility.
Right.
At
It's
this
not.
point, there's still nothing I can do for them. So
Yeah.
at this point, it's a personal choice. So like, what are you having repeat that you feel like you can't let go of that's still bothering you?
Oh my gosh.
Be vulnerable, be open, and you know, however much of your business you want to put out there is on you. But this is your opportunity to get some clarity on that.
Well, I mean,
You can generalize it if you want to, just the way I generalized my situation.
yeah. I guess I don't know. Like you were talking about somebody earlier how you feel like they feel like they're lost. I just feel like I'm lost and I'm trying to find my way. And so I'm trying
How
to these like healing or coping mechanisms to help me get through this life. And I'm trying to let go of what social pressures are because you know obviously it's surrounding all of us.
yeah.
So those are my main struggles. But
So, question. So, do you have a home to sleep in that's warm or that's
yeah,
comfortable? Okay.
yeah,
Do you have food on the table that is there when you want it?
pretty much it's coming now.
Got it. Got it. See? Do you have a family around you or people that are nurturing or supportive?
Yes.
Got it. Do you have people constantly telling you that you're not worth anything and they reject you?
No.
Got it. You're in a much better place than the majority of the population on this planet.
I know. No.
So that's already a given. You're in a good place.
We're gonna build on
You're
that.
already blessed. Right. Okay. Now, with that being said, you feel you're here to do something, or you feel like you're here to do or serve in some way or to achieve something. in an ideal scenario, what does that look like in your head?
I I feel you're right. I do struggle with that. I feel like I'm here to serve some bigger purpose, bigger than myself.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what it is.
Right.
I know right now, like in my life, I love to help people. And I've kind of figured that out along the way because I just offer help even though people don't ask. And so I also overanalyze everything. I'm like, I should have not said anything because they didn't ask me for my help, but
Mm.
I help people. And I was telling my sister and my mom last night, I was like, I just have so much emotion about what's happening in the world. And I feel like I can be doing more. And so when little things get me down, well, it's not little things. I mean, what's happening right now in our world is they're big things, but
Yeah.
it really brings me down and it really hurts my heart. And I struggle. I'm like, I got to be positive. Everybody tells you got to be positive. Think positive.
No, no, you can be human. You can be human. Work on getting more optimistic and positive, but you can be human. It's okay to be human. You know, I definitely am a human being. And if people think that I'm not, then I will definitely disappoint them in one way or another because you're going to see my human side at some point and you're going to get a real big whiff of it. And I'm like, ooh, that smells like Ferny. I smell
We
that.
go
You
from you.
know,
No.
exactly, exactly. So here's the thing on a big scale, big problems in the world, what bothers you the most right now?
Oh my gosh.
It's
Well,
okay. Some
so
people may not like what you have to say. You're
yeah.
entitled to it.
Okay, so like lately, because we've been conversing, I've been so focused on like Dr. Greer's work, right? And just I was watching his YouTube video earlier about one of something he released on Monday about this, secret work that was being done in the South Pole. And just hearing these things about what's happening in our world with climate change, that's really important to me. It really I joke around that my family thinks I'm like the recyclables Nazi because I'm like, who put this in the trash? This is recyclable. Like you're
Yeah.
killing the earth. I'm trying
Yeah.
to save whales.
Yeah.
So these are the types of things that are important to me is doing something that is going to benefit our earth right now because I do believe in climate change. I know it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in all these, you know, these, and they're not theories, but things that are happening in our government that's affecting all of humanity, not just our government, but governments across the world. These
Yeah.
things really get to me and it makes me sad. I had a moment earlier when I was crying because I'm like, how can I change this? And
Okay.
I'll get back
So
bring me
if you
down.
care so much about climate change, if you care so much about the renewables and recycling and everything, then why don't you turn that into an opportunity to teach others and to help others? And you can do that in two ways. You can do it for free, which is always a great way to do it no matter what. I always tell people, like, if you're going to do something and make money off of it, still do it for free because you owe it to people who can't afford it to receive some assistance no matter what, because we're all worthy of help
Right.
regardless of our ability to pay for something or not. So do this in two ways. One is I would create a program, and you can call it a 3-tier recyclables program, or a 3-tier renewables program, where you're basically going to call yourself a renewables specialist or a renewables facilitator, and you are going to build a business or an idea of a business around the idea of being hired by a family who wants to get on board with being more renewable and being more on board with trying to help change the situation. And you go into their home and you will basically assess the situation, and then you're going to pick on like the top 5 things that family can do and work on to shift the trajectory of how much waste they're producing in this world. And then that's tier 1. Tier 2 is, okay, we've done the 5 things, now what do we do? And then take them to the next level. And then tier 3 is really getting to a minimalistic, not a lot of waste, a lot more recyclables. And they are paying you for this. You have people who, my friend, she could not organize her house, and she had her stuff everywhere. So she's like, I can't do it. So she hired someone who just told her where to put everything. And it
Yeah.
worked, and her house got organized. And so people will pay for that because they need help and they're willing to pay for it. At the same time, you can create a basic program that is free that helps people to just make simple changes with
Right.
everyday things that they don't even realize are contributing to waste or contributing to things going the way that they're going. And you can do that with like a weekly, okay, everybody, this week the focus for being renewable is toothbrushes. And a lot of people don't understand the waste that toothbrushes produce, or the plastics, or what this is, and then just make it about one thing that week. And then as soon as you talk about that, then you can plug in your site, and then people can go, and if they want to hire you, you don't even have to go to their house in person. If you want, you can just have them take pictures of like core things that usually people tend to mess up on, and then you can just guide them over the web. But people might need that support and guidance, because if you're that passionate and already getting on your family, instead of getting on your family, why don't you get on someone who's going to pay you the money to get on them? You know, I learned this lesson a long time ago, that I kept trying to help people who didn't ask me for help, and they said, stop trying to help people that don't want your help. Start helping the people who keep asking for it. And that's where things changed for me, and it turned it into a business. And so for you, same thing. 3-tier program. First tier, basic level of recyclables. Tier 2 is the next level up. The third tier is like, okay, we're serious. We're like trying to get off the grid. So you can start to create this program that transitions people away, because you're not going to be able to do this on a global scale. You can only do it one person or one family at a time. But that's already a lot of effect, because you get a bunch of people starting to make a change. If you get 10 families to produce 0 waste or a lot less waste, you've done a lot already. That's a lot. So think about it on that level, and you can turn it into a business, but then also create a brand around it, create a culture around it, create it and turn it into, you know what, everybody, a lot of us feel like we don't have anything, like we don't know what the hell to do, and we feel like we're out of it. Why don't we just get on the same level and focus on the things we can work on, focus on the things we can change? I can't go and change what's happening in DC, but I can take my ass and go vote. And that's one moment of power that I have. Yeah. You have the same level of power, but you're trying to take on all of the things that are happening in this world, but you don't have the power to change the world. You only have the power to affect change in another person who is just open to being changed.
You're right. I see that now. I'm like trying to take on the whole world and not putting that pressure on myself. And it just brings me down.
Yeah. Yeah. When you start to feel, and that's another thing, when you start to feel like you're actually making a difference, even if it's one small difference, it starts to collect and it starts to accumulate. And then you'll start to feel a shift in your energy, where you will feel like you're empowering and changing things for the better, even if it's in a way that on a global scale is small, but in your life it's big. And you don't need to feel the experience of this world to have a good life. You just need to have the experience of your life and what you're doing in it to have a good life.
To affect that change. Yeah, it's like Dr. Greer says, that 1% rule. If you can just and then it just goes on from there. Yeah. Thank you, my Ferny.
All right. So I gave you've been asking me for a business idea. I don't know what to tell you. Like, to go with you, that's good.
My sister too. I was like, I have been struggling with that, and struggling with like what society expects, like success, what success looks like to society. And I was like, I'm going to stop worrying about that, because I need to figure out I know what's important to me, and I just need to figure out how to make that work and how to help other people. It's not, I need to just stop worrying about the money or what other people think. These are things that keep coming up and I keep thinking about that are important to me. So I'm not going to worry about anything else. So
yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, because we've been very conditioned into the idea of what success is supposed to be.
And we're bombarded by it.
And, and for myself, I'm used to hustle, like that hustle mindset, that hustle culture is bullshit, in my opinion, because all that hustle culture tells you is that you have to bust your ass. And if you bust your ass, you will succeed. And I'm like, no, you got to work smarter, not harder. And you have to have a strategy or a plan, and you have to be good at following through. That will help you to get to your goal, because you can bust your ass all your life, which is what I did, which is my partner's mother. She busted her ass her whole life and then retired, and she's still not happy. And she was having all these plans when she retired, and it didn't turn out that way, because it's a mindset thing. So for myself, when I have a day where I don't have to do anything and I can just relax or veg or read or whatever, to some extent, I sometimes feel guilty, because I'm used to the hustle mindset and the, like, if you're not busting your ass for humanity, you're not doing enough change here. And I still, to this day, don't feel like I'm doing enough in this world. And so that's a me thing, and that's something that I got to work on. And even though I have a beautiful home that I share with my partner, a very healthy relationship, I'm in an environment that is gorgeous that I get to enjoy all the time. And I don't have to like bust my ass, and I don't have to struggle. To me, if you look at that, that is a good life, a successful life, a happy life. But for me and what I've been conditioned to, it doesn't feel that way. So I'm reconditioning myself. And instead of feeling guilty, I just force myself to sit in the moment of not doing anything so I can get acclimated to that being the new norm for me. And it's taking time, but it's taking time, but I'm doing it. And same thing with you. So shift that mindset because it's going to take some time to decondition yourself because you're
Yeah.
still giving yourself a hard time about everything.
Yeah, because you still like you feel that guilt. You're like, okay, I'm, feel like a lazy bum if I'm not doing anything, And people do say that you need to be busting your ass, and then you'll get somewhere. And even at the sake of your own like health, And so then you have the opposites, like dogma, like you need to self help and self care, and it's like, okay, but the other thing is telling you to work yourself to death.
Yeah. It's like I'm like I'm still trying to get that balance because I do a lot of self care, but it's usually mental self care and less like physical self care. Like, oh crap, I gotta cut my toenails, or oh crap, I gotta shave my beard, or oh crap, like it's just those little things. And I was like, I wish I had like someone walking around following me, hey Mio, we gotta trim your nose hairs or trim this. I'm like, oh my god, and I'm like I need to get on a schedule because taking care of this body is not easy, but. I always do more mental self
Yeah.
health care than I do physical health care. So
Thanks.
be nicer to yourself. Don't worry about it. You're good. But you have something there that you can work on that is something you can have an effect on in this world, whether you make money from it or not.
Yeah. And that's all I want to do is I really want to help people because who cares if I get to the end of my life and I have money? That's not going to be important.
Yeah.
I
My
want
uncle, my Theo, like he was the most successful person in our family. He went to school, he went to college, he got his medical license, he became a doctor. Everybody else just worked at hard labor, even though they all were in the military. But he just went, he made something of himself that's different from the rest of the family. I don't think of my uncles as losers or as people who didn't achieve in anything. I hold my grandfather in very high esteem. But my uncle, he did all of that hard work and he was making tons of money. And then, of course, after he started making money, then the family starts asking for money because, of course, that's what family does when you're coming from a poor family and you're
yeah.
making money or you got money. So, and his wife always wanted this grand life. She wanted to be this, like, princess and all that. So they moved to San Antonio from Houston and they established their life there. And then a bunch of other things started to happen in that the story goes that he was having an affair with the maid.
Ooh.
And my tia Elvia, she couldn't handle it. And she was very like luxurious and very primped and always had, I mean, she was just done up to the nut. She spent his money. Let's just put it that way. She spent his money. And she was very pretentious and very full of herself. And so when she thought that he was having an affair, which none of us know for sure, I believe so,
Right.
because she just my tia couldn't handle it, so she took herself out to a parking lot somewhere at a store and she shot herself in the head.
No.
Unfortunately, she didn't die, and
Oh
she
my God.
remained a vegetable in a wheelchair for the rest of her life,
I
and
know.
she lived a long time. And the maid is the one that stayed around and took care of her for the rest of her life.
Oh my gosh.
So literally, the maid that she thought my uncle was having an affair with stayed and took care of her for the rest of her natural life, which she didn't die until like she was in her 80s. And this happened when she was in her 30s or 40s. So this is a long time. Yeah. And every time we would go over to my uncle's house after my tia died, it was just my uncle and the maid, because she still stayed. Her name was Chole, so we call her Chole. And so Soledad is what her name was. But every time we went over there, she didn't have her own bedroom, but she would suddenly only sleep on the couch, or she would sleep in one of the spare bedrooms, even though she had nothing in it that was hers. So we're like,
Mm.
so we know that they had a relationship all those years, and which is probably why she took care of, and they probably both felt guilty. But
Yeah.
here he is creating a huge life for himself, having all of this money, all of this wealth. I mean, he used to have hay rolled in to do a Western party so that there was horses and donkeys there in his parking lot. Like that's the personality. And to go from that to, and he would always tell us, money isn't happiness, and you're not going to take none of it when you go. So
Right.
don't focus on money. Focus on doing good things in your life and being happy.
Yeah.
And so he would tell us money's not happiness. And I learned a lot from him. And I, in some ways, went through a similar experience in my own family as well. And one of the reasons why I live all the way out here. So it's interesting
Yeah.
to have those like examples set in our life. But you know, money isn't the end of it. But money makes things easier, and people who don't have money definitely need money. But
Right.
it's not going to bring happiness. It only makes things easier so that you can focus on the things that you want.
Surviving here in this
Yeah,
existence a little bit easier. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Well, keep sending us those beautiful pictures.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it just because my partner's like, stop showing everybody all those pictures because they're gonna want to move here, and we're trying to keep New Mexico a secret. And I'm like, yeah, but people need to know. Like, they need to know, like, how wonderful it is here. So,
I know, especially when you shared those like nighttime pictures, and I was like, I
mm,
see that. Like, but
love,
I tell Ed I'm not moving to New Mexico.
yeah, yeah. I was like, I'm so happy here. I don't plan on moving anywhere anytime soon.
I'm like, I tell my sister, I'm like, I'm such a beach girl. I've always wanted to like move by the beach.
You would think that. You know what? So my family, when they were here last week, one of my family members, she was like, I always have to go to the beach when I go on vacation. I don't like the desert. I went to Vegas. It's hot as hell.
It's
And
hot.
you know, I'm not going to go hiking, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, it's not like that here. Like,
Yeah.
it's not Vegas. It's not hot here. Like, during the summer, maybe 2 months, it is hot when you're standing in the sun in the middle of the day. But if you're in shade, you're fine because there's a nice cool breeze, and most of the evenings it's cool. You know, so I was like, it's not like that here. It's not like the desert, like sand in Vegas. So don't even think that. Well, I don't know. So I had to talk her into coming. So she came. I got her to hike, and she did like the most, like one of the most extensive hikes she could do.
Wow.
And you know, she was like taking pictures of everything. And she was like, I didn't hear any, and she kept saying, "It's cool. That's cool. That's so cool." And I'm like, mm-hmm. And now
Hmm.
they can't stop talking about it, and they keep posting stuff on it. But I'm like, see, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, no,
I know I keep watching and seeing all of that. And I told my sister, I was like, I always thought I was a beach girl. And I do love the beach, but
yeah,
I love water. I'm a little
yeah,
gut, I'm a June
yeah.
baby. I do love water. And I've always thought of my pretty beach. But then I see all your pictures. I'm like, maybe I am a mountain girl.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the sky is our beach because the ocean is this vast amount of blue. And
yeah.
for us, the sky is our ocean,
Yeah.
and at least our ocean has stars in it.
Yes.
So for us, that's that expansive, like it goes on and on and on and on. And it's just like you just can't get enough of it. Can't
Yeah.
get enough of it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, keep sending those pictures. I want to see them.
Yes. Yes. All right, Mama.
All right. Thanks, Ferny.
Welcome. Love you.
Love you.
All right. See what else y'all asking about? What was the plot twist I didn't expect? Yeah, I know. It's like it's crazy. Like it's like the stories in my family, right? Yeah, that was like that was one story. There's another story. My mom when she was younger, before I was born, right? Way when she was younger, she was dating this guy, and she told her she got all her clothes and she's like, I'm running away and I'm gonna go with this guy. And my grandfather, he got into his truck with his shotgun and he went after her and he brought her ass back. And he's like, oh no, you're not. And so like it's interesting because I only know my family to be very consistent, and like my grandfather was one of the most stable, most kindest people that I knew. But the kids, my mom and all them, they say that he was ruthless when he was younger because he wasn't going to put up with his kids disrespecting him or not giving him his place and not following along in what he wanted. But as he got older, he was just a very different person. So I didn't know him like that. I knew him as my grandpa when he was older, and there was just so much kindness for him. So. And by the way, guys, I'm not doing any personal readings, so we're only doing like spiritual topics and questions of that nature. No personal readings in this hour. I actually don't have the energy to do any mediumship right now or to do psychic. My brain starts to after I've had a full day of appointments, so after a full day of appointments and then after doing the lives, my brain literally starts to shut down. And so after I get off the camera, I go into more like hibernation, like very quiet mode, just because it's a lot harder for me to interact with people. So I do have to I've had to work on it just so that I can still maintain that with my partner. This is one of the reasons why like in the evenings I vape, because for me it's like decompress and disconnect, and it's my way of detaching and disconnecting from the spirit world. And I have a agreement with them that I'm going to honor them and their needs as long as there's a time and a place for it. But once I'm off the clock, I mentally like I'm off the clock. So as of right now, spirit communication and seeing the future, for me, I'm kind of off the clock right now. So for me, it's more spiritual. Plus, for me, spiritual teaching and all of that is very like it charges me up because I love talking about these things and I love sharing stories and like giving examples and going into something. I love it and I can't get enough of that. Yeah, shine by you. Yeah, I'm the same way. For me, being in a crowd or being around a lot of people is really exhausting. And after before in the when we first moved here, like sometimes there would be days where I would go out just to stores where there were people in grocery store, and like on the way back home I literally would start to shut down again, as if the way I'm doing with y'all after I'm done tonight. Like I would shut down and start to, like, my energy wasn't there, and I felt like I lost all my energy. And so, and it's just because it's the amount of energy. That's why I really appreciate being so far away from like a lot of heavily populated areas, and I'm out here in kind of like a rural area, because I get that charge from nature. And so even though I still connect with y'all online, and it doesn't matter whether it's online or in person to me, but that nature rejuvenates me, and the connection to nature rejuvenates me. So yes, Cassidy. So I feel like I am in this desert period right now, and I usually have a sense of what's next or what direction. I feel shit off, right, from energies, and very hermit-like. Do you go through times like this? Yeah, so I definitely have my hermit periods. So yeah, it's been hermit periods. Yeah, I definitely have my hermit periods. So I go through periods where I don't want to talk to people, and I don't want to engage with people. I don't want to engage with my own family. I don't want to engage with nobody. And it's not because I don't love people or I don't care about my family. It's just because I cannot handle it. And so I go through periods where I just like completely disconnect and just am doing my own thing. And sometimes, and people may not always realize this, because sometimes when people message me or they text me, I don't respond right away. And even though I'm aware, and it's not like I'm doing anything in that moment that I can't respond, it's just that the effort it takes to respond and engage with someone's energy in that moment, I don't have it. So I wait and I wait and I wait, and then I'll come back to it. So sometimes people will message me and I may not respond till maybe later in the day. Sometimes people, friends who have messaged me, I won't respond to 1 or 2 days later. And it's not because, again, I don't love them or I don't appreciate them or I don't respect them. It's just that I know my limitations. And when I'm in a place where I don't have the energy to sustain the interaction and engagement, I just don't do it, because I don't want to resent people. I don't want to resent my friends. I don't want to resent an individual. I just want to get to a place where I can do it. And so sometimes it takes a little more effort to do so. So let's see. Hello, hello, hello. Here. Yeah, Biba GB said, can we all figure out who we were in our past lives? If so, what's a good way to initiate that connection? Two ways. You can either ask for a memory to surface, and so do that when you go to sleep at night. Do it right before you go to sleep, and just ask your guides or ask your higher self, and just say, hey, I would like to remember one of my past lives. If you can like help me to reconnect and to remember some of those things. And if you do it enough with enough intention, don't try to control the experience, just request the experience of remembering or recollecting past life memories and events or experiences. If you can do that, then you'll start to have it surface either on a conscious level, or you'll start to have it show up in your dreams. The other good way to do it is just through a past life regression, which I've done several times and I enjoy them. Because I've had memories of past lives come up, but I've also had regressions, which have also helped me to remember some of my past lives also. So that's a great way to do it. How many guides do we have? It just depends on the person. The most I've ever seen with people, so most people have one guide at least. Everybody has a guide. And so spirit guides are, and people don't understand what a spirit guide is. People think, oh, an angel is a spirit guide. No, angels are different. Guides are a completely different thing. A spirit guide is a persona. It is a personality that you are receiving assistance from, or aid in understanding through your own life's journey. So before we come into life, we basically connect with a persona, a personality, a spirit. You can call it a spirit on that level, where they have some things they need to understand themselves, or they need to work through themselves, but they don't need to come into life to do it. They can do it through secondhand experience. So we're their opportunity to have that, because we may have a chance to go through some experiences that they may have gone through, that they didn't gain everything they wanted, but they don't need to go through a full life to get it. And so they're kind of tying up loose ends for themselves. So they're kind of living vicariously through us, but they also are there to support us on our journey as well. They're not there to protect us from all painful experiences. They're not there to do the work for us. They're not there to tell us what to do. They're simply there to either affirm what we are doing or to make it abundantly clear that we're going in the wrong direction of what we chose for ourselves on a soul level. So everybody has one guide, at least one guide. Even the people who are really crappy people who make bad decisions all the time and don't care about anybody else but themselves, they still have a spirit guide, except they're just not very good at listening to their guide, or they ignore their guide. But the guide is still gaining from that anyways. But we all have at least one guide. And what I've seen is that sometimes people will have two or three, but usually when there's two or three, those are extra or specialist. In other words, if I have a pipe that breaks in my house, I'm not going to call a home builder to come and fix it. I'm going to call a plumber, because that's a specialist that only deals with that specific situation. So some guides are specialists in specific types of scenarios, situations, experiences, and they show up to kind of assist in that process and also to gain through that process as well. So we may have secondary guides, third guides, etc. The most I've ever seen, as far as whenever I've tuned in and done readings for people, are 5. I think the most I've ever seen someone have is 5. That's a lot of guides. That doesn't necessarily mean they need a lot of help. That means that either they are going through a period in their life where there's a lot they're tackling, so they need the extra support and the extra ability to understand and gain from that, or they are trying to fit a whole lot in a very short period of time, and it's a very limited window for them. But the most I've ever seen is like 5 guides with one person, and I even told that person, that's a lot. I've never seen that many guides with one person. But that doesn't mean anything bad, that, oh, you're really messed up, you need a whole lot of help. That doesn't mean that at all. It actually means the opposite. Okay. Brandy Doom. What are ways to increase your intuition? Take my free psychic development class. Go to my website, fernandamorone.com, and you go down to classes and events. Right there are services that I offer. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. The free class, I spent a year putting that bitch together, and it's there. And I originally put it together, and then it was like on one of these course things online where people were paying for it, and I said, you know what, and I was talking to my people about it, and they were like, you need to offer it for free, because this is not something that should be, that people should not have the opportunity to have. And I was like, okay. So I made it free after having it be a paid service, and it was actually doing pretty well as a paid service, but I said screw it, so I switched it to free, and I put it on YouTube, and it's now available on YouTube as a complete course. It took me a year to do it, and then I actually added a follow-up part of it that I made several years into my business. So, the first part of the course I did when I really started to get into the bulk of my work. And then a few years later, when I learned a lot more, I added to it. And it's still just, it complements the original course very well. But that's on my website. You can go there, you can go down to events and classes, and it's the free course that's available there. Okay, that's the best way to do it. I'm telling you, I talk about a lot of stuff. It's pretty extensive, and I try not to waste time fluffing anything or trying to make something sound magical and elusive. I just get to the point and make it practical and realistic so you can utilize it yourself. Yeah, Mandy says, what can I do to push away, what can we do to push away negativity and bad luck and bring positivity our way in a spiritual way? So this is a 2-part approach. The first thing you can do is check yourself, because most times when we're surrounded by negativity, they are not the cause of it, they are a reflection of it. And a lot of people do not like to hear that when I say, okay, well, if you're surrounded by negativity, then look at yourself in the mirror, because you're allowing yourself to sustain this in your life within you, and all that you're getting from the outside world is a reflection of that, meaning that everything you're encountering that's negative outside of yourself is simply a reflection of your inner state of being. Now, that is separate from stuff that we're going to go through in our life that we're supposed to go through. We did not come into this physical world to be human, to experience to experience this three-dimensional environment to have a perfect life. We didn't leave heaven to have heaven here. We left heaven to have a human experience, which includes suffering. And there are opportunities in experiences that we are scheduled to go through, each of us, in our lifetime. So there are things I go through in my lifetime that I've gone through and that I'm going to go through that are part of the plan my soul has set for itself. That doesn't mean that I can't reduce the amount of suffering I have to experience from those experiences. It doesn't mean I have to feel something to the worst way possible. If you're supposed to learn to be careful and to be cautious, then you can do so by almost getting hit by a vehicle, or actually not paying attention, walking across the street, getting hit, having hospital bills, having a broken hip, and then learning to be cautious. You can do it one way or the other, but it's your choice if you're going to get it through a very simple awareness and adjustment, or if you're going to be hard-headed and then go and get hit by a vehicle. And so that's kind of an example of that. So there are things you're going to go through in your life that are just going to be painful, difficult, challenging experiences that are supposed to happen. But the extent of that, or the level of that pain or that suffering, is up to you. With that being said, to have more positive experiences, because even though I have a pretty damn good life and I really don't have a lot to complain about, and I am very blessed. I was even telling my partner today, I was like, I'm super spoiled. And he was like, yeah, you are. He's like, but at the same time, you busted your ass. You got yourself here, so you deserve it. I'm like, yeah, it's true. But it's like, I'm very spoiled, you know? And so, like, for example, here's an example, right? And this may be TMI for y'all. I don't care, because, you know, that's who I am. I'm always a TMI personality. But when my family came to visit, I had picked a B&B for them, and they stayed at the B&B. And so when I went in to visit with them, the first day that I got there, it was a different property that I normally rent out for them. And so the first day that I got there, they were like telling me about the place. It was a super cute little casita type of house that had all these charming things, but they had a bidet. And I've used a bidet when I went to South America and Peru. You know, I've used a bidet before, but this bidet was like super fandangled. It had like a remote control. It had like the little thing comes out. You don't have to do anything, just sit there and push a button. And so the little thing comes out and the water washes you real good. If you're male, you pick the male setting and it washes your butthole. If you're a female, then it washes your vagina. Like, it does all of those great things through the water thing. And then it also controls the temperature of the water. It also heats the seat for you. And then when you're done, then you can turn on the heat, the blower, and it dries you. So you don't even have to use toilet paper. So I was like, I've used a bidet before, but it wasn't like that. This was a completely different, like, standard bidet. And so I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, you know? So I bought myself one, and it's going to come in 2 days from now, and they're freaking expensive as hell. But I ain't buying myself any Christmas presents, and I don't spend a lot of money on just buying random stuff. I usually buy books, is what I spend most of my money on, is books. But I'm like, I bought myself a bidet, and so I'm super spoiled. This thing's super expensive. I mean, but you know, I get to enjoy it. I don't even know where I was going with that story, but to come back to what I was trying to say, what was I saying? What was I talking about? Oh, negativity. Because I was like, well, how are we get to that from negativity? You're trying to control negativity. So the world around us is a reflection of our inner state of being. So despite the fact that there are things we're going to go through, at the end of the day, everything you're encountering on a regular basis is of your own making, of your own doing. So if you are trying to shift the energy in your life and to kind of pull away from negativity, you don't start by trying to, like, point at people and blame others for that negativity. You look at yourself first and see who you are. And if you are someone, and if you pay attention to yourself, you'll notice that you have a lot in common with these situations or with these types of people. And so, or with the scenarios that you're dealing with. So you have to start by checking yourself first, work on that, actively work on that. Then you can start to pull away from environments, situations, people, a little at a time, one situation at a time, and then focus on connecting with people that you feel more of alignment with. Do activities that support who you choose to be, not who you're conditioned to be. And if you start to make those changes, and you make them small changes at first, and do enough of those small changes, which are where it becomes a pattern of behavior and it becomes a habit, then you'll start to notice that the people in your life who are negative, or who have not been who you need to be, either they're going to step outside, they're going to leave, or they may actually adjust and change and become some different version of themselves you've never known before. And that's what I've experienced in my life. The people that I felt were negative in my life, when I started working on myself, then those people, either they left and something happened and they were no longer in my life, or people surprised me and showed me aspects of themselves that I didn't even know existed, because I'd never operated that way myself. And so that's how you work on it. That is law of attraction work. That is working, and shifting energy in that way. There's a troll in the Facebook, William Tina. They're like trying to ask people if they want a reading. That is a troll, y'all. That is someone who is gonna take your money. So I would highly recommend you block them and report them as spam. You got other trolls as well, and it's usually in Facebook, and yeah, it's usually Facebook that has it, because they need to get their game together. Like, there's another one. No, there's a lot of trolls. Yeah. Yeah, the glass breaking that I explained in the last hour. Yeah, it was interesting because I didn't know. I just like, why would glass break when I'm being conceived, or when I like am coming into existence? And then when she explained it to me, like my hypnotherapist, I was like, that makes perfect sense. I'd never even thought about that before. Yeah, yeah. People are like, I caught orbs. A I caught a ghost. I caught the evidence of a ghost on picture. Once my sister, in one of the really old apartments that she lived in, my she was having experiences there. This is years and years ago, and I went over to do a clearing of the space, and we were taking pictures because my mom at that time had just bought a new Polaroid camera, so she was all excited about it. I was like, Mom, that's like old school. Like, nobody uses Polaroid anymore, but that's all she remembers. So she was like wanting to take Polaroids. So she took it with her, and we were gonna make food and everything también at the house. And so she was taking pictures and stuff. And so in one picture, it was my mom, my sister, and my sister's partner at the time, and I was going to take a picture of them. So I was looking through the camera, and behind my sister, I saw, like this. And I thought that her partner was making the bunny ears. And when I was looking through the camera, I even remember thinking, like, oh, that's going to be a super cute picture with the bunny ears behind my sister's head. And so I took a picture, and there's two pictures actually, but I took a picture. And so then, not thinking anything of it, but then, we go on. I didn't even look at the picture after I took it. I just took it, and then we were just taking pictures and stuff. And then I kept doing my cleansing and whatever. So then, after everything said and done, and we were fixing, getting ready to leave, we were sorting through the pictures, who was going to keep what pictures. And I was looking for the picture of my sister with her bunny ears behind her head, because I thought that was going to be a cute picture, and I wanted it. So I was looking through it, and I'm like, and I'm trying to find it, and I can't find it. And my sister's partner, she was like, "What are you doing? What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm looking for the picture with the bunny ears." And my sister's partner looks at her, and my sister looks at her partner, and they're looking at each other, and they're looking very confused in their face. And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like asking him, like, "What? Like, why are y'all looking at each other like that?" And and then Nat is like, what bunny ears? What are you talking about?" And I was like, "The bunny ears." I was like, "When I took the picture of y'all, I saw you do the bunny ears behind my sister's head, and I thought it was really cute. And I wanted the picture, so I'm trying to find it, but it's not here. I don't understand." And they look at each other again, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, and I was like, had to repeat myself for the third time. I was like, "I took this picture. I even thought in my head, I was like, that's gonna be a really cute picture because of the bunny ears." And I was like, "And I saw you do bunny ears." She's like, "I didn't make any bunny ears behind your sister's head." And I was like, "I'm not making it up. Like, I saw it. I even thought about something when I took the damn picture. So I know I took this picture." And they're like, "No," like, and my sister's like, "Yeah, I didn't, she didn't, I would have felt something. I didn't feel anything." I was like, "Oh my God." And I was so annoyed because I thought that they were trying to make me crazy. And I was like, "I'm not crazy. I know I saw this." Well, I actually went back over the pictures again and I looked very carefully. And in two of the pictures, my sister's hair comes up and does a V into the air and then fades into the picture. So it's like that, but it's just her hair. It's her black hair that comes up into a V shape and then fades in. And there's two of them like that. And I showed them and they were like, and I was like, "Look, look, look." And I was like, and then they were looking at it and then they all got scared because I was like, because I caught this thing on camera, but it didn't look like fingers, but it was my sister's hair doing this V. But I saw two fingers, the color of my skin, which is why I know I saw two fingers. I didn't see black. I saw beige, like my fingers. And so that's why it was like an interesting picture. And I have it and I'll post it. I think I'll post it online so y'all can see it on my Instagram. But yeah, that's what happened. I might even make a TikTok about it because it's an interesting story. But yeah, but I caught a ghost on camera. So that was my only like encounter where I actually physically saw something with my eyes through the lens of that damn camera, that I thought was actually real fingers, but then on camera there's evidence that there was something there. So that was pretty cool. So I enjoyed that. No toilet paper shortage worries, Fernie. You know the thing about toilet paper, just to talk about toilet paper, because I grew up in the hood, my mom always bought Scott, or she always bought the cheap toilet paper, and Scott goes a long way, but it's hard as hell, and it will like rip your butt off, like it's just as hard as hell. And so my partner doesn't use Scott; he uses like this other one that's really soft. But I feel it's such a waste because it's so thick, and I feel like I'm wasting paper, and I feel like I'm like contributing to waste in the environment. So I still stick with the Scott. I'm like, it's okay. But it's like just having the idea that I can just use like a bidet instead of having to use toilet paper for me is like, oh, I'm so excited about that. It's like how much, which is funny because I mean, it's like, yeah, but stupid, but it's like, it is what it is, right? I'm like all excited about not using toilet paper. Yeah. Candace is like, "Don't worry about it, Candace. You'll catch up." It wasn't even. I didn't even do like a regular study group because Shannon was supposed to be on so we could do our chat, and he has a sinus thing, so he just canceled. So I'm like, that's okay. And I didn't really feel like reading today or talking about the secret, even though I ended up talking about law of attraction anyways. But I just wanted to be like Q&A because I really enjoy the Q&As anyways. Yeah, Jenny's like, "My life just shifted to positivity. I don't know why, but I'm going with it. I'm definitely doing things differently." Good. What I would say to you is stick with it, even if you have a rebound moment or a slapback, because now that you're getting into the vibe and you're starting to see momentum, it can stay and you can continue that momentum. But there still will be moments where it feels like the universe slaps you back, or like you get a slap back into your old energy or the old state. And what I would say is don't turn that experience into why does this always happen to me? And make a big deal out of it. Just say, well, that's crap, and then just like process it and then keep going forward and keep pushing yourself with what you've been doing, because it will stay if you stay consistent with it. But if you make a big deal out of it, it makes those experiences more common, and you'll also have more of those moments where it feels like it's big when it doesn't have to be. Talking about toilet paper now. All right, guys. I love you all. I'm gonna get off here now because I'm gonna be. I think the talking about toilet paper and wiping on my butthole. I think that's the extent of the level of where I want to go with the conversation. So, all right, guys. I love you all, and I will see you next week.